So who am I? My name's Mark. I'm Business Development Manager here at eSkilled. I work with student and learning management as well as our AI course creator. So yeah, so if you have any questions about our learning management system, also reach out as well. But today we're going to be talking about our course creator. So what are we doing today? Firstly, what is our AI course creator? How does it work? Oh, sorry, is anyone here or is my audio? No, sorry. No, the audio, we've turned off the audio. So if you have any questions, sorry, Sam. Um, Sam's asked a question, is anyone here, is my audio not working? So hopefully other people can answer that if they can't hear me. Hopefully they can. But if you're trying to speak, Sam, you won't be able to speak. You'll have to type any questions into the question bar. Um, Happy to answer any though. How does it work? Course creation. We're going to do a demo. Editing your course, sharing your course, how you'll add it to any LMS, themes, and pricing. So that's what we plan to talk about today. Okay, thanks, Kath. Kath can hear me, so hopefully, Sam, if you're not hearing me, make sure you sort out your audio connection. All right. What is AI Course Creator? So what we're going to do is be creating e-learning. So it's an authoring tool for e-learning. So it'll build a SCORM file. Claudia's asked the question, hi Mark, is this session recorded? And if so, will we receive a copy? Yes, and yes, Claudia. So yes, you'll receive a copy. It'll take about a day to come through, but yes, you'll receive a copy of the session after. Yes, so it's an e-learning authoring tool. You'll be able to create courses very quickly. It allows for AI-assisted editing as well. It's an easy interface, so you won't need a degree like other e-learning software is quite complicated. You won't need that. Rich media and interactive learning, so it allows for connection with high-end, nice-looking designs. And it integrates with pretty much any LMS, really. If you can download a SCORM file into your LMS, which is the majority of them, it should be able to integrate with that LMS. It's also an interactive SCORM output, but also you'll be able to connect via LTI as well. So if you have either of those in your LMS, you'll be able to use these files in that. Um, I'll explain how that shares in the session as well. How does it work, and really how are we different from what you see out there? Obviously, a lot of people are using ChatGPT to create their courses. This is very different. Okay, so we trained our model with our instructional design team. So what that means is that we build courses for accredited learning in space. We thought um, we would use the same team to help build this creator. And so what that means is it uses a tell, show, do methodology. So, gives the content, gives a practical example, and then there's a short formative quiz. Now, very, very clearly, formative quiz is initially what we're doing here. It'll speed up the design. How we're different is it speeds up the design of how you're creating the courses, and it looks beautiful. Like you can produce a really beautiful looking file very, very quickly. And obviously it publishes it into an interactive SCORM output that you can then upload into your LMS. All right, let's have a look at what our system can do. So firstly, it's a very simple uh, design. The website that creates these courses for you is very, very simple. You have your own portal that you log into that you can then create the courses. It shows the courses that you can then export in a number of ways, which I'll show you. So to do that, we're going to create a course. We hit create course here. Now I thought the last few sessions I've been using accredited units, and I'll still show you how to do it with an accredited unit. But I thought I would go with something that's been in the news recently in Australia, and we had a cyclone in Brisbane. So I thought I would do something associated with that. I built a course. I built this course for my daughter actually, and sort of so she could get her head around the cyclone that was happening and how we should prepare, and it really helped her navigate that to the point where she decided to present this course to her classmates in school. So that was pretty interesting. It was pretty fun and exciting. So firstly, the step one is course details. So what do you want to create a course on, right? So this system knows how to prompt the AI. It uses ChatGPT API, which means that you have your own portal that you can provide your own content to. It won't share that content back to the model. It has encrypted it goes encrypted to the model and encrypted back so that all your IP is stays within your portal, and so it becomes your content that you're creating courses with. So firstly, course name obviously pretty self-explanatory. Describe your course audience. So this can get quite granular. So if you're doing an accredited unit, you might put in what course that the accredited unit is relates to. So if you were doing a diploma course, this it would relate back to a unit of competency. So when you're putting in the describe your course in detail, you'll put the unit code and the unit name. But in the course audience, you're going to put in who you're training in detail. So you can put AQF standards. You can put in general language, you can just type in who you're training. And you can even put in what they're learning as well. Describe your course in detail. So again, unit codes, unit names, maybe anything that helps you structure the course more than actually the detail of the course here. So if you need to structure your course with emphasis on something, then you can put that in there. If you're going to if you want to add in sort of an industry, you can put that in there as well. So the more often you put in things like industry, and it will mean that it'll contextualize it more, which is really exciting. So you can get an accredited unit that you have a learner guide for or something, and you can build an e-learning file for that. Now, the next thing is this course creation type is not yet released. We've planned on releasing it earlier this week, but it's been a bit delayed. So it should be in the next couple of this next week. It should be released. This is a really powerful thing you can do. So firstly, creative is just it will create the content for you, right? It's going to generate that content. With document conversion, you can add one file in there and it will convert that into an e-learning file. So that's really exciting. So if you have a learner guide or something, you'll be able to use that to actually prompt the AI, which is really cool. I will just go creative for this one that we're preparing. The next thing is attaching files. Now, this is really, really cool. So obviously with the document conversion, you can only add that one file because it's converting that exactly as it's written. But if you are uploading a file for creative, you can upload multiple files, and they can be things like units of competency. That's going to then guide the structure of the course to be relevant to elements and performance criteria. Curriculum reference documents are quite handy for even university. Learner resources. I have an example of a client who uses, so what they do is they print their PowerPoint to PDF and they upload that document in to this. And then obviously the PowerPoint will then flesh out all the topics within the PowerPoint, which is really handy for presenting, but also for bringing that PowerPoint into an e-learning file. Sorry, Cass asked a question, Cass Crosley. So if I had a workbook for a BSB unit, it could be uploaded and then it would make an AI learning module. Correct. Correct, Kath. Now, just bear in mind there's a small AI limitation there. Yeah, yeah. Sorry, Kath just went, "Oh my god!" Yeah, this is so cool. Very exciting stuff. So yeah, absolutely. Upload whatever you need. If you're in HR, you would upload a staff handbook, policies and procedures. If you're, you can do operations manuals, software manuals, product manuals, like legislation. Like you can put in whatever you want here. The limitation though is that, and this is an AI limitation, not ours, that between all the documents you upload, you'll only be able to add up to 500,000 characters. So if I was guessing the amount, what that means, it'd be about 25 full pages of text. If you're uploading that much stuff and then wanting it to be creative, I think you're probably missing the point here. We want it to be the structure of the course rather than the content itself. No, sorry, Ines has asked, can I also add videos as well? No, not yet. You won't be able to add videos as curriculum reference documents, but maybe a transcript you might be able to upload. As long as it's a PDF file, you'll be able to upload it. So it might be a way to make that work. So yeah, so that's that one. Any questions while I've got this last one open? No problems in it. No, awesome. So let's move on to the next step. So the next step is context. So this is so cool. This allows for the context, for you to change the context of the course. So you might have a BSB unit that you want to then put for a particular industry context. Because obviously there's a whole lot of business courses, and then maybe you want to train in the mining industry, or you can absolutely do that. If it's a non-accredited course, just be mindful that you want to make sure that your case studies are relevant to the people that you're delivering. Course context is a huge reason why people need a tool like this. I have clients that will purchase our e-learning files for one context, and then they'll go and recreate more context for different types of clients that they work with. I even have a client that has built a particular unit for a client that they work with. So even down to that level, and you can add in the client's details there. Can you do multiple so Claudia's asked another question. Can you do multiple industries as we deliver the same unit to different industries? Yes, that is exactly what I'm saying, Claudia. You can absolutely, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. So let's go through these steps. So select your course depth and breadth. So this is how much text do you want? Um, comprehensive will give you enough for an accredited unit of competency, but maybe it depends on how you're delivering, I guess, as to how much text you need. But yeah, overview would be no more than a PowerPoint, right? Maybe a short line for each topic, which can be quite short. But again, it'll depend on who your audience is, what sort of reading level you have, as to how much text you get as well. So it's going to output based on what you've specified. Comprehensive reading level. So very easy is a 5-year-old, and difficult would be university graduate level. Right. So you'd probably, for normal adults, I would probably stick to standard or fairly difficult, depending on how high end the client is. But sorry, I got a question from Joanna about the previous step. So what happens if the text is greater than 25 pages? So if you're uploading uploading texts, you may have to scale it back. So it will error. It will error if you have more than 500,000 characters. So, I mean, 25 pages was more of a guess. on how much text you would get out of 25 pages, but generally you're talking about that much text. So if you're going more than that, maybe scale back the text for the course, maybe split it up into several courses, perhaps might be a way to deal with that, Joanna. So reading level, very difficult. University graduate level, I probably wouldn't go to that level unless you are dealing with, a high-end sort of consumer. It's really good to have lower reading levels. So I would scale it back based on these little speech bubbles that they put here. So I'm going to put fairly easy for this one because I wanted this course for my 9-year-old daughter. So it needed to have a certain level of text. Language. We have 96 different languages. And the one thing to note here with language is it's generating in that language. It's not translating anything. Obviously, if you're putting context in one language and then you're saying a different language, there may be some translation for headings, but I would it's still generating the text in that language. So that's something to note. Tone of voice, it goes to casual, professional, funny, dramatic, excited, encouraging. That's my favorite, encouraging. But yeah, you can really change the tone of voice in your course. Um, Country context, really important. Along with language, it's important to note that different countries have different ways of delivering content. So if you put a country context, not only is the case study going to be relevant to that country, but it'll give you relevant content for that country. So, for instance, I did a retail course for workers in New Zealand, and it was a non-accredited retail course for them. Um, it came out with the cultural greeting in, and that's because that's a really important part of New Zealand culture is understanding cultural greeting. So that's something to note there. Other contextual considerations. Now, you can put in, this is where you would put in your industry context. Okay, so Claudia, this is where you would do that. You can put cultural, social, economic, political considerations in here. You can put in legal, regulatory, environmental considerations. You can also put a regional, local, or state context. So obviously different courses relate to different states, so it's important to make sure that you put in your state context. And the industry context is really going to be relevant for case studies. So it will then know. So, like for instance, I did a course for a Linfox employee at a conference, and I typed in all case studies relevant to Linfox, and one of the case studies was a warehouse, a Linfox warehouse. So it really understands and knows what you're doing there. Before I move on, any questions on that? One thing to note is in the other contextual considerations, that's where I put the most text because you want the case studies to be relevant, especially for context reasons. They're really handy there. The next step is really more how it looks. So firstly, category is pretty self-explanatory. You put them in, so rather than doing folders in normal file system structures, old school file system structures, these days you categorize things. That's how you search within the actual portal. That's how you search. So you can put in categories for whatever you need to. I have clients that put categories that help them compare so that the different departments within their company deal with different courses. But yeah, you can absolutely use the categories how you like, but it's sort of like how you would folder structure it via a folder, but it's via a category. Topic navigation, free or linear. That's again pretty self-explanatory. Free just means you can go to any menu item on the left and just open it. If you do linear navigation, you would have to progress in a linear fashion. So you would have to do the first unit before you can open up the next section. So first topic before you open up the next topic. Normally in accredited learning, you'd do linear, but for the case of what we're showing here, I wanted to show you in free. Add learning objectives. Learning objectives is just a title page, essentially. It does a little accordion and gives a little note for each section. Include case studies. If you tick this box, it will actually put a case study at the bottom, a subtopic case study at the bottom of every topic, which makes it really high-end coursework. And then course theme. Now we'll go through themes once we hit generate here, because I wanted to take you through how you can create your own theme and how many options you have in how you would do that. But I've chosen Empower here just as an example. When I hit next, the last step here is the quiz. So do you want single true or false questions, single or multiple choice answer questions? There's also two other question types that you can add manually. Eventually, they will be an option here too, and they'll automatically be created. But right now, you would do them manually. The quiz itself, though, the true or false single multiple choice, is an automated quiz at the end of every subtopic. So you would be able to do that. Now, again, this is a formative quiz. Sorry. No worries, Claudia. You can rewatch the session afterwards. Sorry, Claudia's just said she has to move on. That's okay. Now, yeah, so options. Do you want to add true or false, single or multiple choice? You can add multiple or no quiz at all. You can allow how many questions you have in each quiz, and then quiz navigation type. Essentially, do you want to progress on the wrong answer, or does the student have to get it 100% correct to progress? And then here, the last toggle here is require quiz attempt for course completion. So yeah, that makes sense. It won't let you progress through the course unless you're actually attempting the quizzes. Okay, so then you have these two buttons here. If you create outline manually, that means you can just type out your own unit outlines, subtopics. Generating an outline takes about 20 seconds, and it gives you an AI generated output for the topics and subtopics before it generates the text. This is really important, a really important part of why our system is way better than anything that you see out there at the moment. You see that takes 2 seconds to do. It generates you, and a little ebot's painting his masterpiece, which is pretty funny and cool. It's generating this text. You'll notice it's quite comprehensive in what it's produced here. Add lots of topics and subtopics, preparing your home, understanding cyclones. So you'll actually know with an accredited unit, if you put the unit code in, it'll bring up those elements for you as topics. So that's something to really take heed of. But yeah. And so, yep, we're pretty happy with this text. Of course, you can add topics, subtopics. You can remove any topics that are not relevant. Any topics that are not relevant. So yeah, so we're going to hit generate. Now this is the thing that takes a little while. It takes about approximately, depending on the amount of topics, approximately 15 minutes. So while we're waiting for this to happen, I'm going to take you through, pretty much everything else. And then when we see the end, you'll know where we're at. Another thing I wanted to sort of take you through is an example of one we've done earlier. So I'll give you that example now. So this is one that we've produced. I thought I'll show you a preview of that. This is an example unit of competency. So you can start your course here. You'll see it's a very similar sort of menu system down the left. It pulls it away with the hamburger menu. So it's very scalable. So if you're looking at it on a device, you'll be able to, it'll actually re-coordinate everything so that it coordinates for a mobile device. You'll see you've got images. It'll do text to audio as well. So I'm actually including, hopefully you can listen to this and hear. But this is an example.
In this section, we will explore the fundamental concepts of critical thinking which are essential for applying critical thinking effectively in your work practices.
So that's that's probably one of the more robotic voices that we have. Despite, I don't know if you've ever used AI generated text to audio before, but this text to audio is sensational. It'll pause at the right moments. It'll read things out in a really nice way. I actually really like the American guy. I know that a lot of people don't like American readings, but I really like the American guy. He sounds so real, like a real person. A lot of people think I sound like this guy, but yeah, there you go. Um, images to left and right. You can do hotspot questions, hotspot uh, images as well that you can then click on. There's also a flip card system. It'll build your case studies as well, and then yeah, flip cards, and then how the quiz looks beautiful. That's an pure example. So you can see how it would move through a quiz. Like I said, correct answer or not. Um, some other things to note here is you can add in videos like embedded videos like from YouTube or Vimeo, or you can upload your own. I would recommend embedding, so downloading it to those services and embedding, because you can then do things like subscribe to the service, click it on YouTube, whatever. Another hotspot there. Yeah, so pretty interesting stuff. Accordions as well. But yeah, make pretty nice looking courses. And let me show you how you would do that. So firstly, let's go into themes. So the themes, you can build your own theme, and I'll just go into one that we've done earlier just so that you can sort of see what you can do for this. So firstly, how does there's a style, there's up to 6 different styles that you can choose from. So that gives you a sort of title page and completion page in a certain way. But remember, you can customize the colors and fonts and everything in it. So just to note that. There's also cover image, the text on the title. There's a background image. You can even change the color of the text of the start button, but also the how the color graduates on the start button. You see different graduation colors there. You'll note that you can use the color code so that it makes a relevant color. It will even go down to the color of the hamburger menu and even the progress bar color and fonts um, of that as well. Um, Joanna's just said, "This is amazing. I'm paying a fortune to have my course edited." Absolutely. This is, I think, really, this is game changing. What it doesn't. I don't think it replaces your instructional designers. What it does is it allows your instructional designers to produce way more content way faster. So I'm imagining a client requests a course, and in the past you'd be like, oh, it takes about a couple of weeks for us to create it, and this is all this big cost associated with it. But imagine if you could just say to a client, yeah, no worries, we'll have that produced in a couple of days. You want to do a course in a week? Sure. You can say yes to a lot more things. As an RTO, this is sensational, but there is some work involved here, and I'll show you that in a minute. Banners. There's also individual banners between sections as well, so something to note there. Course completion images and text and colors and all of that. These are the banners that I was talking about. So you can have banner icons, but also banners for different things, for practical examples, case studies, scenarios, videos, quizzes. That you can change the way the banner's viewed, but by default, they're really nice looking and fit the style that you're working with. But yeah, of course, you can completely change how it looks, and even upload icons as well. Flip card settings. So when you produce a flip card, it'll just come out with an image, single column, 2 columns, 3 columns, so square, rectangle styles. Fonts, all of that. 2 columns, 3 columns. How it looks. Table settings have their own theme style as well. It will generate you tables. Sorry, I've got another question. Daniel asks, does the created content automatically map to the knowledge requirement, competency elements, performance criteria for nationally critical courses? The answer to that is it's not automatic, Daniel. One thing to note here is that you put in, it's an AI generated bit of text, right? So you're going to have to do the mapping after when you're reviewing the content. So it's one thing to note. It's generating you content. It's getting you 90% of the way there. You still have to review the content, make sure that you're happy that it meets those elements, performance criteria for those accredited courses. If you're putting in a Unicode, it's probably gonna do a very good job of meeting those standards, but you still need to map it. It's still important to note if you are doing mapping for these. Remembering this is not summative assessments. It's not summative. It's formative learning and assessments. So it's not technically required for the courses, but a lot of clients will do that. So what I would suggest you do is map it when you're reviewing the content. So it is a manual process of mapping, yes. That is something that we're going to be producing at a later stage. Keep your ears to the ground. We are generating more than just this using AI. So just some notes that there's some exciting developments that are going to be happening in the future. But for now, it's just doing formative. So yeah, tables, fonts, colors. Seriously, like the font options are insane. You have all these fonts, spacings, all of that is all there. And then, so yeah, that's saving that. Let's see how we're going with this course. Oh, where are we? Oh, it's almost done. Oh, it's completed. Awesome. So this is exciting. So it's just loading here. So once it's finished generating, it takes you into the editor. So this is the next thing I wanted to show you actually. Almost perfect timing. So the editor is then, you mainly just have the text at this stage. Eventually, we're going to be producing some of the interactive elements as well. Hold on, sorry, we've got another question. Lee asks, do these created courses need to be based in the eSkill platform or can we export them? No, they don't, Lee. This can be worked with any LMS system that uses the SCORM compatibility or LTI connect. So you do not need eSkilled. However, we found that eSkilled is probably the easiest one to connect to because you can connect in a number of ways. But yes, if you have a SCORM in your LMS, you'll be able to use that. Um, okay, so it's brought us into the content. So learning objectives is just like an accordion, understanding cyclone. So this is the topic, and then there's subtopics under that, right? So if I want to highlight a bit of text, one thing to note here is it has the AI editing function. So anywhere where there's stars here, it shows AI doing something, right? So I want to expand text. So if I want to expand that bit of text, I can just hit expand, and it takes about a couple of seconds to do, and it will give you a generated text output. Who owns the final product produced course? Sorry, Robbie's just asked. Who owns the final produced course? And if the course is generated for me, will the next person looking for the same course simply get what I've been given? No. And so, okay, let me answer this in all the stages. So, who owns the course? So, it's your portal, it's your content, you own this text, this generation. Something very important to note there, Robbie. If the course is generated for me, will the next person get the same course? So the answer is 100% no. It's generating AI. The way AI works is it generates a new output every single time you generate. So you can have exactly the same text in your outputs, and it will generate a completely different course. It's going to be fairly similar, but it's not going to be the same text by any stretch. All right. Hopefully that answers that question. So you can see it's generated quite a detailed description. So this is the topic, not the subtopic. So it's not giving a whole lot of text generally here. But you'll see here, there's that. The other thing to do using the AI is you can do the text to speech here, or using this AI assistant, you can do text to speech for the entire course, right? Now, text to speech uses a whole lot more generation credits, and I'll get to that point in a second. I just want to show you the amount of text that it gives you. So you can understand that I've put in a fairly easy output of who's learning this, right? So formative cyclone stages, classification, cyclone structure, like it is really detailed on what it's done, including practical examples as well. You then add, using the text here, you then add images, left, right, up, down. When you're adding an image, it then allows you to use a free image library if you want to. It allows, so there's two Pexels and Unsplash image libraries that you can use the stock images for, and they're free free content. Obviously, you can browse your image libraries or upload from your device. So if you've found something on the internet that you know is, copyright okay, then you can obviously upload that as well. So that's something to note. If you do browse your local image library, it will bring in content that you've produced on any other course within in that particular account. Generate image via AI. So this will allow you to generate your images. Some little tips and tricks here. If you do illustration, the image description, when you type it in, it's a quick description, and then you can generate a detailed description. That will give you a much better output. And then I can move that back. So once I get that description, I can then move that back to a photo. Of course, read how the tips, because you'll get a much better output. I would say image generation isn't always, certainly can't get detailed diagrams or anything like that at the moment with AI. It's just not to that level yet. Eventually it will be, but for now, I would be using the browser, the free image library, more than anything else. It helps you produce lots of things, and there's lots and lots of content there. Interactive courses, adding your flip cards. It's as easy as, add 3 flip cards. There you go, 3 flip cards, an image or text. If I want to add a content banner, just type in a content banner. If I want to add a hotspot, this is a really cool one. Let me just do this one because I think this is cool. Let's just grab a cyclone. Let's do this one. So what you can do is go done. You can obviously edit the image when you bring it in. You can scale it and crop it, do all that. But I can add a hotspot in here and type in the text, add another hotspot. You can bring it. What I might do is just add it along my cyclone itself. And you can just add your text in there. You can just copy it from different things. So like I might go tropical cyclone Mahina, and just add the text that way. So it's really cool. Adding media, videos, audio, document viewers, adding quizzes, accordions. It's just pretty easy to navigate. Something to note there. If you use the AI assistant, you can generate practical examples for the whole topics and subtopics as well. Okay, so we're getting to the end of, we've only got another 15 minutes, so let me get through this. Just wanted to say, output wise, so once you've saved it and you're happy with it, you can then hit the download. So if you can only do download SCORM if you're on the annual subscription. Something to really note. It won't let you download the SCORMs unless you are. That's obviously so we can keep the product at a low cost. If we don't do that, then we would be charging the same amount for a year as we would for a month. So I think it's important to note that we've tried to keep the cost down for that. The other ways, so other things you should note here, there's a preview link. So if I click that, it just opens up the preview at that point. If I then go back out, I can see how many generation credits I've used here, and that'll see, so I've already used 183,000 generation credits. And what I've just done, that gives you an idea on how many generation credits you're going to be using in total when you're producing these courses. Um, if you use audio transcribe, audio to text to audio for the whole system, that 183 would become maybe 500,000 generation credits. It sort of triples the amount of generations it uses. That's something to note. Now, if you want to export, you can enable LTI, and that will connect it to your LMS. Any, like I said, any LMS. What is the definition of a generation credit? Okay, so when you're using AI through a API version of an AI tool, they use credits or tokens to determine how many generations you're using and how much that costs. So it's sort of like the cache of AI generation is what is probably the best way to explain that. Um, you can download it as a SCORM file. That's a SCORM file is sort of just a zip file of that particular course that you can then upload into different editors. So if I hit download SCORM, it will give me that. Now, if you're using, I don't know if any of you are RTOs that are using other systems like Accelerate, probably the biggest one I wanted to touch on here. You would need to use SCORM. If you're using Accelerate, you'd need to do enable simple sequencing and SCORM 2004 fourth edition to be able to actually export to Accelerate. That's something to note. But most viewers will use the 1.2 um, to do it as well. And also there's an iFrame code. So iFrame is just like code that you can put within a website. So if you don't care about whether your students are progressing through and you've got an answer on whether they've passed it or not, um, and you just want to present the content to a number of people, you can just get this and use an iFrame code and then plug it into any website. You can have people do the content as an iframe. But again, you're not going to get progression data. You're not going to know if a student's passed it or done anything to do with it unless you connect it to an LMS. Okay, and then generate preview course link, and that's just a link for you to paste into any browser for the course. So if you don't care about whether they've passed or not, you do. Sorry, Daniel's asked, how does the copyright for pictures and content apply for this AI generated content? Okay, so with AI generated content, there is no copyright because it's generated, right? But if you're talking about copyright for there's the free images that you have in the image generation. Sorry, there's the free images. They're obviously free stock images that are available. It is on you to make sure that your stuff is copyrighted. That's something to note, Daniel. If you're uploading images into this thing, you need to know that it's because it's your content that it's copyrighted, right? So you need to make sure that it's referenced the right way or whatever. But but yeah, generating images does not worry about. There's no issue with generation because it's an AI generated image. Okay, so that's how to add it. I think probably the last thing I wanted to touch on. Um, Actually, that's pretty much it on the demonstration side. Does anyone have any final questions before I move on to pricing? I've only got 10 more minutes, so I should probably go on to that. Can you create branching scenarios? Uh, I need to understand that a little bit more about what you're after there. Branching scenarios. You're talking about a quiz and then it moves on to another question and another question with regards to like a context. Is that what you're meaning? A scenario with options. The answer is no, Mark. You wouldn't be able to do that um, unless you're putting it within a quiz. Quiz question one, you have to get it right, and then you move on to the next one, maybe. But no, the answer is no with that. But you can, if you do have a branching scenario iframe that you want to populate, we do have source code importer as well into the text. So if you do have some sort of scenario that has an iframe, you can populate that in there. if you're wanting to. It's a really good question. I might put that up the line as well, Mark. So thank you for that. All right, so let's move on to costs. So no worries, Mark. Thanks for that. So cost-wise, there's monthly and annual plans. Like I said to you, if you want to connect on a monthly plan, you would have to connect via LTI, right? So LTI is basically a window into our platform, but it also brings progression data back and forward as well. So on monthly subscriptions, the starter package is $89 a month. So it's a really low cost option to get started. If you're wanting to move, so moving from monthly to annual, it really only adds 10 times the cost. So you're saving 2 months essentially if you go on the annual subscription. And obviously you get then the SCORM output as well. So starter package, one course creator, that's one user creating courses, 20 gig of included storage. You'll find that with the encryption of what happens, it's very high end. So you'll find that it will definitely be able to cater for most scenarios as long as you're not uploading too many videos. Like I said, I would recommend linking. And the 1,750,000 AI generation credits per month. So each month you get an allocation of credit. You can then add extra credit if you want to. If you're building a lot of courses in that month by comparison, you can do that. This will give you approximately, if you do comprehensive full data, you're going to get around 200,000 per generation. And then if you're adding the AI audio, it's approximately 500,000, give or take, depending on how much you're using. So really, you'll get about almost 10 courses if you don't use the audio, and you'll get approximately 3 or 4 if you use the text audio in the starter package. But exponentially, it gets better as you grow in the packages. So if you're generating, say, 5 or 10 courses a month for an RTO, I would probably start here at the Maximize. But yeah, feel free to start wherever you need to, and you can always upgrade at any time. We do the pro rata thing, so it will know and make sure you only charge what you should be charged. One thing to note here with these limitations is there's 50 course limit for the starter. So that's how many you can store on the actual platform. If you delete them, obviously they're off the platform, but then you can't edit them. So I would recommend keeping your courses on there so you'll be able to edit them later and don't have to regenerate them from scratch the next time. So that's just something to note. But that's over the whole lifetime of it. It's just you've got that many courses on your platform at once. And so if you move up, obviously it exponentially gets better. So 120 courses, adds more. All right. Now, do I have any questions on the pricing? Or does that make sense? I think we're almost finished our session. Is there, I guess, any final questions before we finish up? No, I think we've sort of answered most of them as we've gone. That's fantastic. If you need an enterprise plan, you just let us know, and all you need to let us know is how many creators, about how much content, and how many courses you need. So those sort of 3 things are the most important things. If you need a customized plan. No more questions. That's fantastic to hear. All right, let's come back to this PowerPoint. No, that's it. Questions and feedback. That was what I was asked. No worries. Oh, here we go. We got some questions. Oh, here we go. How much does it cost? Joanna's asked, how much does it cost if you do it? I don't. We don't create them for you, but we do have partners that we work with. So if you do need to know details of partners that will do these courses for you, happy to pass that information on. But you'll find it's pretty easy and easy to generate. So you may want to give it a try yourself before paying someone. But yeah, feel free to ask. Paul has asked if you have a similar tool to create you have a similar tool to create assessments. Yes, that would be in our LMS, Paula. Our LMS helps you create assessments. Um, we will be working on there will be something in the future for that, Paula. So no for now, but yeah, you would create them in the LMS for now, and in the future the answer will be yes, but just not yet. And Robbie's asked, thanks, Mark. If I need more info, I'll be in touch. Great. Uh, does does a user need to register before he can do the course? Okay, so I think maybe that's a misunderstanding. So with Tina, that would be if you're registering with an LMS generally. So if you are registering for a course, you would have to register with someone doing the course. These if you're generating a preview link and you don't care if the student passes or not, then you wouldn't need to register. You just have it as an iFrame on your website, right? But if you do need to know whether they've passed, so you can give them a certificate, or you want to know if they've actually done the content, then you will need an LMS to put this into. Okay, so that's something to note. And if you need an LMS, we do have one. So feel free to reach out, and I'm happy to demo our LMS. So you can use our LMS with this, and it would complement very, very well.